श्री Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Guru Maharaj ki jai. One second. Okay. So we'll see our prayers. ओम ज्ञानातिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनीति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर शिवसादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। One second. Okay. Prabhuji, you can put the slide. Okay, I think we have 3 shlokas today.
These slides are visible?
Yeah. भूमिरपो अनलो वायु खं मनो बुद्धिरेव च अहंकारा एतियं मे भिन्ना प्रकृतिर अष्टदा. Translation: Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. All together, these 8 constitute my separated material energies. Okay, so the other 2 shlokas they are connected. So 13.6 and 13.7. महाभूतानि अहंकारो बुद्धिर अव्यक्तमेव च इंद्रियाणि दशैकं च पंचचेन्द्रियगोचरः इच्छा द्वेष सुखम दुःखम संघातश्चेतना धृति एतत् क्षेत्रं समासेन साविकारम उदाहरतम. The 5 great elements, false ego, intelligence, the unmanifested, the 10 senses and the mind, the 5 sense objects, desire, hatred, happiness, distress, the aggregate, the life symptoms and convictions, all these are considered in summary to be the field of activities and its interactions. All right. So right. So here, in these 3 shlokas, so they are connected. So here, what is being discussed is the in this material world, everybody is we are just using the resources. So sometimes somebody is inquisitive, they initially try to find out how all this world is, how everything is happening, where all this came from, the water, the earth, the fire, all this stuff. Some inquisitive people, they try to find out, and otherwise maybe not everybody is bothered, or they don't go thinking in detail, or they have a false understanding or wrong understanding, and they leave it like that. Just like material science, they cannot create everything, basic raw material. So here Lord Krishna is explaining this what is the raw material, the source which is used for, from where everything in this material came from, and he's explaining that he is actually the source of everything. So that is what we will look into, and these are connected. So Prabhupada explains that Krishna is discussing Kshetra, Kshetragya, Jnana, and Gya. So idam shariram kshetramiti abhidhiyate. This body is kshetra. Kshetra means the field of activities. Just like a cultivator, he has got a certain portion of land, and according to the land, he is actually sowing the seeds of grains, and he's working on it. And then when he's working hard, and he's getting the profit by agricultural products produced from it. Similarly, this body is a field, and we are sowing the seed. And what is that seed? Karma, and getting the result. Maybe it is stored and as a reaction, and we experience it later. So whatever we're experiencing in this life, it's because of past lives karma, which was stored as a reaction, and we're getting it. So karmana deva netrina, Srimad Bhagavatam 3:31:1. So there is some divine force, divine vision behind all this. So we see that somebody is, Prabhupada explains. So we see that somebody is fat, somebody is very thin, somebody is white, somebody is black, somebody is very beautiful, or somebody is not so very beautiful, or like that. So why is it that we have got different types of bodies? Why there is so much variety, variegatedness? Why there are so many varieties of bodies instead of the same type of body? Sangata, the aggregate. So there are three gunas. This is a combination of three gunas. So everything in this material world is under the influence of the material energy, which is the three gunas of material energy, which are um, mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance. So prakrite kriyamanani gune karmani sarvasha. Bhagavad-gītā 3.27. So as you are associating with the guna, the particular guna, you're getting a different type of body in your next life. So in the present life, it is because of what you did in last life, previous lives. So that is what is Krishna is explaining here. Mahabhutani ahankara. The ahankara is very important thing. Prabhupada explains that there's false ahankara and there is real ahankara. Ahankara means law of identity. So when somebody identifies himself that, I am Indian, this is ahankara. Similarly, somebody is identifying himself as I'm American, or a rich man or a poor man. All these are ahankara. So there are so many ahankara, or law of identification. And this ahankara is subtle and is the subtle basis of getting a particular type of body. So mano buddhir ahankara. There are 8 material elements. Bhumi, Rapo, Analo, Vayu, Kham, Mano, Buddhir, Evacha. Bhagavad-gītā 7.4. This earth, water, fire, air, sky, mind, intelligence, and ahankara, false ego. This is creating my different types of body. Krishna therefore says, Mahabhutani ahankaro buddhir avyaktam evacha. Avyaktam means the total material substance. So just like when you construct a house, Prabhupada explains that this, giving example of this house, there are lots of raw materials used, heaps of materials like stone, cement, wood, and iron, and the mason, he combines all this and he constructs. So tejo vari mrit vinimayam. This whole material world is exchange of these three things. What are these? Teja, which means fire, vari, which means water, and mrit, which means earth. So, for instance, a city such as Mumbai or New York is a heap of tejo vari mrit vinimaya. There's fire, there's water, there's earth, right? So these three um, are there. Maybe in different proportion, you get different stuff. Um, so if there was no stock material of tejo vari mrit vinimayam, vinimayam means exchange, then that engineer, if there was an engineer who was constructing something and he knows how to mix these three together, these three material like teja vari mrit, so but if there was no material, he cannot construct it. But who is supplying these ingredients? We know that nobody, no person, we haven't heard, or there is nobody who can actually make these three raw materials. We know how to use it, combine these, take these raw materials, combine these in different proportions, and come up with new stuff like that. But who actually gave these three raw materials, basic raw materials, ingredients? Nobody can create it. What at the most an engineer can do is simply mix this in different proportion and come up with something or construct something. So this is not possible. The creator of these is actually the God. And Prabhupada explains that we are actually using Krishna's property, but we are claiming it as ours, and that is called illusion. Therefore, Shastra or Veda says, Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam, Isho Upanishad Mantra 1, everything belongs to God. You cannot create this big mass of water, sea, or ocean. That is not possible. Who has created? Somebody has created, and with this we get to know from Shastra. We understand that in Shastra, like Srimad Bhagavatam, this water is actually perspiration of Mahavishnu, and we can understand this. Why we can understand this? How we can understand this? Because we are infinitesimal part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this Lord Krishna, Lord Vishnu. We are minute particle, and we have this understanding, intelligence, and that is how we can understand this. And this is mentioned in Shastra, and we should refer to Shastra and understand this, that the source is actually for this water is actually the perspiration of Lord Mahavishnu. So Achintya Shakti means inconceivable power. We have got this inconceivable power, but because we are minute particle of God, we have also got this inconceivable power, but it is in minute quantity. This inconceivable power is actually what is known as Achintya Shakti. But Lord has got this in. Lord is actually the source of everything, even this potency, inconceivable power. So Prabhupada gives an example. We see that, for example, if we see that hairs are growing on the body, but the energy is there within it in the body. Similarly, there's so many things which are happening, and from the inconceivable power of Lord Krishna. Therefore, Krishna claims, Bhumi Apo Anulo Vayu Kham Manu Buddhir Evacha Prakritir Me Ashtada. Bhagavad-gītā 7.4. Bhinna Prakritir Me Ashtada. They are my separated energy. So this whole earth is creation of these five elements, cross elements, and so this is Krishna's property. Everything belongs to Lord Krishna. So, uh, so it is stated in Shastra that everything belongs to God. Everything is property of God, and we can utilize it, use it. Javad artha prayojanam. As much as we require, we can take. So birds and bees, they are living on nature's condition. The bird will go to a tree and eat some fruit, but will not collect any more than that what he requires. Neither he will take the fruit at his home to stock for next day or come up with a black market, as humans have a tendency to do. So everything belongs to God, therefore everything should be employed in the service of God. And Prabhupada emphasizes that this is what is the Krishna consciousness philosophy is. This is what is our philosophy of Krishna consciousness. So he gives another example that he used this microphone. For example, we are using this phone to communicate. So this is being used. All this is being used for Krishna's purpose, and therefore it is spiritual. That is the difference between material and spiritual. When you accept it as your own or for your own sense gratification, that is material. But when you accept everything as Krishna's, then then we simply take it as Krishna's prasadam. Then it is spiritual. So, for example, Arjuna initially, when it came to fighting the battle of Kurukshetra, the war, he was initially hesitant. He didn't want to find his kinsmen. He said, let them enjoy. But then, when he understood that everything is for satisfaction of Krishna, it is Krishna's desire, no matter whether if he does it or not, this is already happening. This will happen because Krishna is actually doing this. He just needs to be an instrument. This is Krishna's desire. So he actually went ahead and fought the battle as a service to Lord Krishna. So this is Krishna consciousness. He knew that he is a servant of Krishna. I must satisfy Krishna. So as soon as we understand, we think that everything belongs to Krishna. We get this right understanding, and everything should be used for the service of Krishna. Then it is spiritual. Otherwise, it is for if we use it for our own sense gratification, then it is material. We are storing it as a reaction of the karma. So there's something very important here. Everything is spiritual, but when we do not know how to use it, therefore it is material. When you forget Krishna, when you forget the proprietorship of Krishna upon everything, that is material. Hari sambandhe Krishna sambandhe nirbandha Krishna sambandhe yuktam vairagyam uchyate. This is the injunction of the Goswamis, that we have to accept everything as Krishna. This is the fact. And we are using everything without utilizing for Krishna's purpose, therefore it is material. Forgetfulness of Krishna or God is materialism. And not to use things for Krishna's satisfaction is criminality. So there is So Indriyani, then the 10 senses, 5 senses for acquiring knowledge, 5 senses for acting, working, and then there is mind above these, which is within and without Indriya. So that is 11 in total. And then there are object of sense gratification, tanmatra, just like rupa, rasa, gandhas, shabda, sparsha, beauty, taste, smell, sound, touch, respectively. They are objects of enjoyment. So in this way, we have got indriya senses and this body made of gross elements, the ahankara and buddhi, monobuddhi, ahankara. So these are the subtle body. And in this way, this kshetra, this body is combination of all these things. So Krishna explains all this, the raw material, and what is this a field of activity, and um, who is actually the knower of this field of activity, and who's actually the source or controller of everything, where everything, all these raw materials are coming from, and what is the right understanding, and how everything should be used, and what is we use it for our own sense gratification, it is material, and if we use it for spiritual service to Lord Krishna, understanding it rightly that it belongs to Krishna and should be used for Krishna, then it is spiritual. Um, so here another thing. So ichha, dvesha, sukham, dukkham. Um, so we take birth within this material world according to ichha and dvesha. These two things are there. There is something like there are some things which we like. There are some things which we dislike. So this is a combination of all these things that has made this body. So the composition is very subtle. So these chemical products, the raw materials of this body, is described by Lord Krishna uh, in great detail, very beautifully. There is something gross chemical and there is subtle chemical. But the right understanding, we need to understand that I'm different from all this combination, and that is knowledge. But that we do not know, and then it is ignorance. So there is described in Shastra. We should refer to Shastras. Um, यस्यात्मा बुद्धि कुनपे त्रिधातुके स्वाधि कलत्रा कलत्रादिषु भौमा ईज्याधि. Srimad Bhagavatam 1084:13. Bhauma ijyadhi. The chemicals, the gross chemicals come from the earth. So everything is in my body. They have come from these material elements, and I'm identifying this place is mine because of this body is born out of these elements, and that is going on as nationalism or understanding on those terms. So instead of worshipping or preferring to worship Krishna because of ignorance, they are identifying with the raw materials and identifying with a community or a nation, and they stick to that. And instead of worshipping Krishna, they worship that. So, right understanding is this from where everything came from. Then, in that understanding, proper understanding, spiritual understanding, in that Krishna consciousness, we can use everything for the service of Lord Krishna. And that will be the best thing, because then you are not preparing your next body because of when you do sense gratification, then you incur karma, um, and then you prepare a next body, um, and according to the desires and the karma, you get a different body in next birth, and then there is variegatedness like that because of that. So uh, uh, Prabhupada explains that yasya atma buddhi kunape tri dhatuke swadhi kalatradishu kalatradishu. So this body is made of three dhatu: kap, pit, vayu. So mucus, bile, air, according to the Ayurveda system. And people, they say that my kinsman, my own person, swadhi kalatadrishu, kalat kalatradishu, wife and production from wife, children, and so like that, family, community, dynasty, swadhi kalatradishu. So that is imperfect, that is understanding under in ignorance. We should refer to Shastra. Krishna is giving perfect understanding and progress in spiritual life, and refrain from and try to get out the cycle of birth and death. So that is the right understanding. So So Prabhupada says that unfortunately we are not taking advantage of all the prerogatives of human life. Um, General mass of people, they are simply engaged like cats and dogs for utilizing um, our life for eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. So these demands of the body, that is there in even in animal life. Then what is the difference between animal life and human life? Unless you become inquisitive to know, athato brahma jigyasa. Therefore, Vedanta Sutra says that this life is meant for inquiring about the absolute truth. Tattva jigyasa. Jivasya tattva jigyasa. In the Bhagavad Gita also, it says that athato brahma jigyasa. So this Krishna consciousness movement is awakening the dormant inquiry of the human society to inquire what I am, what is God, what is my relationship with God, why I have come here in this material world, what is the reason why I'm suffering. Um, then the fear of death. I don't want to die, but why death is forced upon me. These are the questions to be solved in human life, not the economic development. So there are 84 lakh species of life. Of these, there are 4 lakh species forms of human beings. Everything is taken care by the mercy of God. So there are forms of life like birds, bees. They are taken care. They have been taken care. So there is no economic development program for them. There is no question of scarcity of food. So why not have a progressive understanding? Why don't you think like that? Where all these things came from, and inquire and progress in that. So therefore, human life is simply meant for inquiring about the absolute truth, not for engaging oneself in the so-called economic development. That is already taken care by God's arrangement. So we have forgotten that everything belongs to God. We are thinking it is my land and so family, kinsmen, and all that. So and then you will see that there are so many there is a war-like situation between countries. There are so many restrictions. You cannot come here. It is my land. So this mismanagement of the human society is the cause of all the troubles, all problems. Therefore, the human society must have Krishna consciousness to solve all the problems of life. So here, Krishna has explained all these elements, the 5 plus 3, the gross and subtle elements, and where these are the raw materials. Humans cannot create all this. We can just use it to come up with new byproducts, but we cannot create these raw materials. So we need to be inquisitive, refer to scriptures, shastra, and progress in Krishna consciousness. We understand that Krishna is the source of. Krishna is beautifully explaining all this in Bhagavad-gītā, that he is the source of all these things, and we should have a guru, a self-realized person, uh, take his understanding instructions, get his kripa, mercy, and then finally we can progress and be liberated and serve Krishna while we are here and achieve perfection and go back home and uh, free ourselves from this repeated cycle of birth and death and be in a perfect body, perfect place, perfect understanding, and never be an illusion. So Krishna beautifully explains all this, and we should believe in it, practice it, and this is what is Krishna consciousness. So thank you everyone. Thanks for joining. And in case if anybody has any questions, please highlight before we call it a day. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Ananda Rupa Govind Prabhu. Thank you, everyone.